today I want to talk about how to deal with injuries. I hope I can add to whatever you already do to deal with the challenges of your life. I don't really have a script for this, but just trying to talk about like the most important things that I can talk about, and it seems like the things that we have the most experience, that we can be the most help on, are the things that we're dealing with right now. So I am dealing with I re-injured my lower back, my L4 L5 joint. It slipped. I injured it 30 years ago as a young kid. A 25-year-old man was lifting a pot, and I blew out the disc. It's just been getting less and less stable, and over all those years I've done lots of yoga and lots of strengthening, and I had a whole routine, and I was able to manage it for 30 years plus. But this has been the worst time that I've experienced. So it's really it's hard to stay positive. But that's one of the practices that I'm definitely trying to do, and I want to help you if you're dealing with an injury. I want to help you stay positive too. So how am I doing that? How am I staying positive? Well, I have my moments where I'm like, oh, damn. I think one of the hardest part is admitting where you've done wrong to yourself. So what I realized is that I was doing too much twisting and probably hip stretching at the wrong point. Like, hip stretching is good, and I'm always telling people how for your lower back you need to keep your hips open, but I think it was too aggressive. And that's a common lesson, I think, with injuries, especially with men, especially with go-getters like me and maybe you, or women. Doesn't really matter. But if you're a go-getter type, you tend to re-injure yourself, not stop. And so it brings me back to Brian Cast, one of my favorite yoga teachers, who I interviewed a while back. You can see his interview on this channel. He came across this idea that the more you use something, if you overuse something, you wear it out. And it's just kind of it's a hard thing to swallow. It's that if we overuse our back or our elbow or our shoulder or our wrist, we're going to wear it out. But it's a little more complicated than that, in the sense it's like, you don't just not use it. You have to use it just the right amount. And that's been the challenge for me. I think for most of us, is what is that just right amount? And I think for me, so one of the other principles I always talk about I've talked about for years, is this idea of good pain versus bad pain. And so when I would stretch my hip and my back, I'd feel like I was in good pain. But as I was thinking about it today and yesterday, I think I actually was pushing into bad pain. So the way I used to describe good pain, physically or emotionally, is that it's diffuse. It's not in the same place it always is, and it's usually dull. But I think I have to modify that a little bit. And so bad pain is pretty simple. It's sharp and it's in the same spot and it repeats. But it's so hard to be self-aware. So if you're dealing with a pain in your life, I don't know, Brian was really encouraging me to just, you want to stay away from pain. And I think on one level, it's not a bad idea. Discomfort is okay, but pain is not so good. So it's kind of it's a challenging thing to figure out what is the right kind of sensation you want to go for. So when I would stretch my back, I would feel it's kind of painful, but the edge is so fine. You got to try to play with your own injuries to find the right kind of pain. So right now I'm sitting in the car and I'm driving, and I have my backrest higher than I had it before, because when I used to put it right below where my back injury is, now putting it there actually hurts because it's so acute, or something has changed, or it's inflamed, or I don't know exactly what's going on. So, but I'm really trying to listen. Maybe that's what this talk is about. I don't know, for anybody who listens to these things, they don't ever really get going until about 5 or 10 minutes in. So the key, I think, is to listen to the pain. And, I hear that again and again and again from the wise people that are trying to help us and help themselves. The pain is a message. So I was sitting here in the car and my lower back was hurting, and I had it down low on my spine, like lower than I normally have it, but those are the two places that seem to feel better, either lower or above. But when I felt that pain, initially I would kind of push through it and think, well, this pain doesn't really matter. But then I've started to train myself to be more attuned to the different types of pains and not just try to push through them. Like there's a particular pain that I'm really used to, of a sharp pain right in the joint, and I know that that's bad. But now I'm realizing that there's these other pains around the back, and those aren't good either. I used to think that they were kind of okay, or maybe strengthening or stretching, but now I'm realizing that I just kind of had it wrong. So maybe that's another point, is we got to be willing to admit when we've been taking the wrong approach. And it's so funny because it's really hard. It's really hard to just go like, oh crap, this therapeutic approach that I've been taking is harming me. Most of us will just keep hitting our head against the wall and wondering why we have a bloody forehead, because we're unwilling to admit how we were harming ourselves, and myself included. And so I guess maybe that's the deeper wisdom of this talk, is just in order to heal yourself, you got to get deeper in and see, are you doing something that actually might be harming yourself? I was thinking about, like, it really is important, the medical oath, do no harm is number one. And I think that's overlooked in a lot of ways in the healing realms. Like, we got to first start with do no harm, and then try to figure out how to heal. I was thinking about, I used to have very bad, so I broke my neck. So I had two spinal injuries, which really were my biggest physical limitations. And one was when I was 18, I broke 3 vertebrae in my neck. And when I was 25, I blew out the lower disc in L4, L5. And so for years, when I was trying to heal that, I was a therapeutic yoga instructor, and my pain, and the pain had traveled from my neck to my middle back. And when I had the pain in the middle back, and I was doing all this therapy, I was doing all this yoga and all these therapeutic things, and all these teachers, and it wasn't getting better. It wasn't getting better at all. So then one year, I really loved surfing, and my surfing had been compromised for 10 years. It just wasn't working. I would go surfing and my neck would just lock up. So then I just decided, I made this decision right in the middle when I was doing my whole yoga career. I said, I'm going to go to Costa Rica for 2 weeks. And I'm just going to surf twice a day no matter what. I'm just going to get in the water twice a day no matter what. And that was 2005, and I did that. And at the end of that trip, this chronic back pain that I had in my upper back, I'm dealing with lower back pain now, the chronic back pain that I'd had in my upper back, it disappeared. And I didn't quite know exactly what I had done. I figured it out since then, but it was an amazing realization that all of this conscious, focused, therapeutic activity wasn't working. And when I backed up and just did something else that also had a lot of joy for me, I was healed. So, going in, like everybody would think, like going to a yoga studio and studying with all the best teachers and teaching others that would heal you. It didn't. And what healed me was surfing twice a day for 2 weeks. So the point of that story is just, again, like how to deal with injury. How do we deal with our injuries and not go negative? So I think one, I'm not talking about not going negative. The thing that I'm talking about right now is I think the way to heal ourselves is to be very responsive and aware of the body. Like keep digging deeper into your awareness of the body and notice what pains you ignore. Yeah, notice what pains you ignore. Oh, I forgot to go try to get the tires. I got an old golf cart that that needs new tires that I bought new batteries for, and but the tires are dead, and there's some free tires on the side of the road. In any case, free tires aside, and listen is so hard to listen, to just slow down and listen to the body sensations. Like I'm feeling a new pain in my back, and I feel like that might be therapeutic. It's above where it normally is, but I don't know, I might be pushing it too hard. Brian Kess said this other cool thing. He said, your yoga practice or whatever your practice, you should kind of feel like a massage. I mean, we still need to build our muscles, and that's important, but we also need to build them in the right way. Strength and stretching. It's just so important to be mindful and not overly aggressive. So it blows me away how overly aggressive everybody is right now. In any case, not everybody. The male culture in America is getting super aggressive right now. It didn't always used to be so aggressive, but it is now, and I understand it. I remember when I was I'm changing topics a little bit, but I remember when I was younger and I was in LA and I was trying to figure out like who I was as a man, and the cultures I was in down there wasn't a lot of space for masculinity. It was kind of suppressed. So I understand the backlash that's occurring right now, but I think a lot of those masculine, whatever, the dudes on the YouTubes, that they threw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a way to be a powerful man and not be a dick. Keep coming back to we're in the golden age of assholes right now. In any case, I digress. So taking care of your back or taking care of yourself after injury, so not going negative. I think the next thing maybe to talk about is not going negative. How do you not go negative? I would say, back to the idea that I've been sort of saying over and over and over again, and that's that something is always better than nothing. There's always something that you can do. And so the time you go truly negative is when you stop doing anything. And so, I mean, you'll go negative, but the moment you start taking some sort of action in a direction that you're supposed to move, like my back is tweaked. So what am I doing? I'm readjusting my backrest, and I was doing a little AI research to figure out what sort of exercises I could do, and walking around my house, and working on something, working on some therapy, working on some finance stuff. And this is a blind corner. All right, I hope that's helpful. Have a great day. This is slow talk YouTube video. No excited choppy stuff. You got to really dig for the gold.